Well, hello, YouTubers. It's been about 3 weeks. Tried to get back to you a little bit sooner, but here I am. This is going to be very interesting today. First of all, I'm going to give you a little teaser here. For the first time in my video career, I will stand behind a rapture date today. I have only stood behind one date 100%. That was June 9th, 1994. It was concerning a gentleman out of Colorado who predicted an 8.2 earthquake, which of course God's in the details. If you look up in any Google, if that's who you use, you'll see that on June 9th, 1942 or 1994 there was an 8.2 earthquake, but it was so deep, 400 miles, that no one felt it, but it's there. So anyway, that's the last date I stood on. I've been accused of setting dates. I've been accused of saying it's the end of the world, which I've never said because I don't believe it's the end of the world. That we got a tribulation coming, we got a 1,000-year reign, loosed for a season, new Armageddon. We don't know. But it's not the end of the world, that we do know. But I've always said that there were certain high watch days. And these high watch days were feast of the Lord, and some more than others. And the Lord kind of brought me into studying the feast after I got saved. And actually, after midnight, this will be my 30th anniversary of being born again. I was born again on Elul 29, September 9th, my brother's birthday, 30 years ago. I used to say September 8th, but it was 4 o'clock in the morning, so it was the 9th. Elul is the month of repentance. So I got born again. The Lord was gracious enough to bring me into his fold hours before the time of repentance was over, because the books are open on Rosh Hashanah. What I didn't realize, though, you do get an extra 10 days, which is a 40-day fast. Jesus fasted from Elul 1 in the desert till Yom Kippur, 40 days. It's the only time there's a 40-day fast in the scriptures, even to this day. But Elul 29, that's my birthday. And when I started looking back, and that's the year I discovered what Rosh Hashanah even was, I found out that even on the biblical calendar, the feasts change every year. So a quick reminder, first 3 feasts: Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, crucifixion, burial, resurrection. Pentecost, the church was born. We've been expecting the last 3 feasts to fulfill second coming, rapture, and when he comes here for tabernacling with us. And I've always thought that Rosh Hashanah, Feast of Trumpets, because of the last trump, was the rapture, but I've since changed my mind, because on Yom Kippur, throughout all the land, a last trump is blown. And it's the end of a 40-day fast, and that's the last trumpet, which also ties into the Jubilee years we'll be talking about. I'm going to give a quick update on my cancer here real quick. Matter of fact, the reason I'm not wearing a ball cap today is because it's the last time you'll see me with hair for a long time. Because of some radiation treatments they're going to do on my head that start next Tuesday. But 4 years ago, I got ocular melanoma. That's a very rare melanoma. They can actually cure skin melanoma now with immunotherapy. But apparently, they told, 2 different oncologists told me, my cancer doesn't respond to any normal treatments. And that includes chemotherapy, radiation, and the 4 protocols I religiously tried, being the keto diet to cut off sugar, baking soda to raise my pH, and thanks Brother Kenneth Beers for a very unique vitamin C that, if not as good, better than injectable vitamin C. And I've lost a lot of weight, and when the Lord revealed this to me, I was like, Lord, why do you now, of all times, when I can just wait for this date you've given me, because I'm going to give you the rapture date by the end of the video, so hang in there today. And he spoke to me, and he doesn't speak to me audibly very much, but he said, if I would have healed you now, you would not have made the video I need you to make. And that's the video I'm telling you right now, folks. So I'm going to put some links down here too. I will be gleaning a lot of stuff from a wonderful brother named Pastor Sandy. And a link for some last days miracle Bible oil that I've seen several miracles help here in my life and other lives. So I've only told you the thing about the cancer because of my views on deathbed repentances. And the diagnosis is, weeks to live. Yet, look at me. Do I look sick? Do I look like a Holocaust victim? My cheeks are rosy. I'm full of life. And to their dismay, I have no pain whatsoever. Yet I'm riddled on my hip, my brain, my lungs, my liver, my abdomen, lymph nodes. I'm lit up like a Christmas tree. But we're going to leave that to the Lord. So I've had some of the best ministries in the world call me and pray for me. Brother Van Atta, look him up on Sid Roth. My friend, the author, Neil Russell, he's fasted 40 days for me. And then weekly, every time he thought of my name or he thought of eating, he prayed for me. Mark Biltz, the discoverer of the blood moons, tetrads. I mean, and I don't even know how many people have called and said that they're, and thank you for your prayers. But the Lord also told me that he wouldn't let a single ministry take credit for my healing, that he wants full credit. So that's where we're at. Okay. Names are important. If you get it wrong, God renames you. Abraham was Abram. Sarah became Sarah. Saul became Paul. Simon became Peter. Names have reasons. My name means to convey a message loudly and quickly. Charles Holler. Let's hope I can do that today. Help me, Lord. So, real quick, just to give a quick... they're trying me out for the radiation table. And what a horrible experience. But they have to mark the tumors. They're only going after my brain and my hip. The rest they're going to try immunotherapy. Even though my cancer doesn't respond, they're saying just because 95 out of 100 don't respond, you might be the one of the 5. So anyway, I'm going to jump through the hoops. I'm going to drink of this cup. I'm going to do the Lord's will. I don't want to, but I'm going to do it. While I'm in the machine last week, I smelled this aroma. You guys ever smell like a new car smell or like a new pair of leather shoes? It's a great smell. This was a great smell, only it just doesn't compare to that. This aroma, my initial thought was, okay, I'm in this little donut here. It's whirling around. There must be some kind of a chemical coming off of here with this great odor, because it actually makes it pleasant, if you can be pleasant in a situation like that, to withstand 40 minutes of this. And didn't think anything about it. I got home that night and I smelt it again. I thought, well, maybe I brought that home in my clothes. So anyway, changed my clothes and everything. And then later that night, something miraculous happened. The odor was overwhelming. And that's when he spoke to me. He said, "It's me. I'm here with you." Hard for me not to tear up when I tell this. But, and that's when he told me to do the video. So, 12 disciples gave their life for him. You don't die for a lie. Believe me, at the last minute, one of them would have said, "Hey, yeah, we hid Luke in the tomb for 3 days with some food and water, and we nursed him back, and then we drugged the soldiers, and we moved it, and, he didn't really write, don't kill me, don't kill me." But you know what? They lived with him. They saw him. They watched him die, and they watched him resurrect from the dead, walk through walls. So anyway, that's my prelude, and I am already 9 minutes in. So let's talk about scripturally. This is not a dream. This is not a vision. The date I give you today is backed up by the only thing we can count on, which is Scripture. We're going to talk about the Jubilees. Now, I've made a lot of videos on Jubilees over the year, but there's been 4 of them. And just real quick, 1867 was the final emancipation of the Jews from the Austrians and the Hungarians, or Hungary it says. I've made notes today. I normally fly by the cuff. let the Lord fill your mouth that very hour, but I have too much to give you to miss something today. So excuse me to look at my notes. And we'll be reading some scriptures also today. That was the first one, 1917, 50 years later, General Allenby, they take Jerusalem over again. 50 years later, 67, 68, Moshe Dayan storms the Six-Day War. They take Jerusalem. 2017-18, Trump declares Jerusalem. Why didn't he do it when he first got in office? Because it wasn't a Jubilee yet. We had to wait for the beginning of the Jubilee. It was September 23rd, 2017. The Revelation 12, it was in the sky. He told us. You know, so... and it's been 6,000 years. This is the 6,000th year. Not 6,001, not 6,000. You go back. Adam lived 900. Count it. Do the count. It's 6,000 years. And then the 7,000 years, the rest. This is the Jubilee. The first thing I would like to bring your attention, we're going to read Leviticus 25. And this is all about the feast of the Lord. And in Leviticus, let me just get there real quick. Verses 8 and 9. We're going to center also around the number 17 today. 117 actually, because the Lord is a Lord of numbers. That's why his signature is 7. There are 7 vials, 7 bowls, 7 years tribulation. And really, just Google, if Google is your search engine, how many 7s are in the scripture. They belong to him. Now, 13 belongs to the enemy. Barak is in there 13 times. Old and New Testament. The dragon 13 times. So, according to E.W. Bullinger's Gospel in the Star, or in the numbers in the Gospel, 37 is also one of the Lord's numbers. But this is a new one for me that was meant for such a time as this. It's 117. Remember J.R. Church, Prophecy in the Psalms. Psalms 48 is 1948. Psalm 17 is 1917. Because it's the 19th book of the Bible, and it just hooks up perfectly with the 19th century. Psalms 93 was the great Mississippi floods that we had here. I was bagging sandbags that year. Then it clipped over to 100. We thought the rapture would happen by then, but it didn't. So it's 2000 was Psalms 100, and 2001 was the Trade Center, and 2008 the Obama election, and 117 is 2017, the year the Jubilee started, folks. Happens to be exactly right in the center of the Bible. There's 594 verses or chapters on one side and 594 on the other. He completely divided it right in the center. And speaking of Saul, well, let me read this first. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm going to read 2 verses, 25, 8 and 9. 17, 8 means new beginning, 9 means judgment. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee. 7 times 7 years, in the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Then thou shalt cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound. He's coming at the last trump, folks. On the 10th day of the 7th month, that's atonement. In that day, atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all the land. Not just Jerusalem. This last trumpet will be through all the land. He will come with the sound of the trumpet. A Jubilee year is from atonement to atonement. It's right here in the scriptures. Okay. And it just so happens the 70th anniversary of Jerusalem, or Israel, he said he was going to come in that generation. And he said that in Matthew 24, but also in Psalms. What Psalms you think it might be? How about 117? Let's go there. In Psalms 117, he says, 2 verses. How about that? 2017. Oh, praise the Lord, all ye nations. Praise him, all ye people. What Psalms only has 2 verses, right? For his merciful kindness is great towards us, and the truth of the Lord endureth forever. Praise ye the Lord. There it is, folks, right in the center where the Bible is divided. So, let me just go on. Luke 4, this is when Jesus went, and he walks into the temple for the first time to read his first verse of Scripture, Isaiah 61. Let's just go there, because I'm not ad-libbing today. Isaiah, where are you? Using my e-sword today. Let's see, 17. No, that 17 would be the destruction of Damascus. I hope you saw that. Google Damascus, folks. If you don't think that's a ruinous heap, then you're sadly mistaken. It doesn't have to be new. Nothing's ever going to happen there again. Isaiah 17:1, the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, it shall be a ruinous heap. It is not a city, folks. It's gone. That prophecy was fulfilled when they dropped the bombs. When? 2017. 17? Okay, let's go 17 chapters ahead to 61. Matter of fact, Isaiah has 3 sets of 17s. It had 17, 61, and in between there is 39. But let's go to 61. And the Lord gets out and he finds this verse. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good things unto the meek. He hath set me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captive. This is the liberty year. He was announcing right here, he's coming back 2,000 years later on a jubilee to proclaim liberty to the captives and opening the prison to them that are bound. Let's see. Okay, the actual date, we're going to wait. Cliffhangers, sorry. Parallels, okay, a couple parallels. You know what's funny? In Esther, a guy named the Evil Haman tried to kill all the Jews, but instead he was killed and his 10 sons. In the Bible codes, in Esther, it tells you the year that Hitler was going to do the same thing. And when he tried to kill all the Jews, he died. And who died with him? His 10 henchmen. See how God reveals things back? You know, Nebuchadnezzar took the northern empire of Judah. But he said, you know what? I'm going to let them live in Jerusalem if they obey me. And even though the Lord told them to obey him, they didn't. So 19 years later, he has to come down, and you can read it yourself, he burns the temple on 9/11. We call it the 9th of Ab, but it was 9/11. And according to the Jewish calendar, because Av is the 11th month, and in Europe they switch, you know, they tell the day first and not the... So anyway, 9/11. Thank you, Jonathan Kleck, for that information. That is a very important thing. So, sorry, I didn't mean to lose my thought there. I ad-libbed a little bit. Psalms 90:10. Let's go there real quick. What a generation is, because he said he was coming back in that generation, folks. And what is a generation? Well, a lot of times we get a little confused and we say, well, 70, 80 if you got strength and blah, blah, blah. But the 10th verse, it says, the days of our years are 70. That's 70. If by reason of strength, 80, yet their strength that's only labor and sorrow if you live those extra 10 years. For it is soon cut off, and guess what? And we fly away. Huh? You ever read that in there about the 70 years? We fly away. The reason he was gracious enough to say 80, so not everybody would die at 70. If he said 70, his word would have to be true, but he just didn't want everybody to die exactly at 70. So anyway, the generation is 70. It's not 80, but, you know, that's just, you get to live a little extra longer if you do. A couple other things about the 17 I want to talk about here. There were 7 disciples who pulled in fish, 153 fish. We always wondered, why did he do that? Why put that number in there? No one's ever been able to figure that out. I think I've got it figured out now, thanks to Pastor Sandy. In the original Hebrew, 153 means sons of God. He was pulling in the sons of God. And it's funny that if you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 all the way up to 17, guess what number that is? 153. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 4, folks. One of my favorite chapters. 1 Thessalonians 4, 17. Let's go down to 17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. So shall we ever be with the Lord. Isn't that great? Matthew, where at Matthew? Let's go to Matthew 17. How about that? Matthew, what's about Matthew 17 that we like? Well, it's the transfiguration. And after 6 days, after 6,000 years, okay, Jesus takes Peter, James, and John, his brother, and brings them into a high mountain. And he's transfigured before them. His face shined like the sun. His raiment was white as light. And behold, there appeared unto him Moses and Elijah talking. And Peter answered and said, Jesus, is it good for us to be here? If thou wilt, let us make 3 tabernacles. This must have been the Feast of Tabernacles. One for Moses and one for Elijah. He recognized him. And as they came down the mountain, Jesus says, tell no man what you have seen. You know what this reminds me of? Moses died. Elijah did not die. They're meeting Jesus in a high place. It's a rapture scenario. The Moseses are going to rise first. They're the dead. We are going to be changed. We're the Elijah. It's Matthew 17. Okay, Isaiah 17, Damascus. We talked about that. Didn't almost have enough notes there. Let me real quick. Oh, there are 3 17s. Chapter 17, 39, 61. Guess what that adds up to? 117. Song of Solomon. It's about the bride. How many verses in the Song of Solomon? 117. Will you stop, Lord? We got it. Of course, we're not going to stop because he loves to. We love you, Lord. Okay, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Acts, the final 5 books about the Gentiles. 117 chapters. How about that? A little bit, Daniel 9:25, going to regress just a hair. Boy, Lord, thank you. I think I'm going to get this in my 30 minutes. Artaxerxes, according to Daniel 9:25, when the commandment goes forth to rebuild the temple, there'll be 62 weeks. And then there're going to be another 7 weeks, which makes it 69, which has happened. And we're waiting for the 7th week of 7 years, which is the tribulation. That was in 456 BC. And when I did it on the 360-day biblical calendar, it came exactly to June 7th, 1967. That was an awesome fulfillment. But it was fulfilled before that on the 69 weeks because Jesus, from that day to the day, 177,800 days. Thank you for that memory, Lord. He rides into Jerusalem on a donkey on Nisan 10, 4 days before his crucifixion. Hosanna, Hosanna. A week later, they crucify him. But he was very sad that day. That's the day they wrote Matthew 24, because after he come back up, he was very sad. He even said, you can, the signs of the times. But then I'm telling you when I'm coming. You just had to count the days. It showed you if you would just paid attention, watched. Watch. You would have saw me right in here today to announce who I am. But you missed me. And woe unto the mothers. I wish you would gather your children like hens. And then he answers those 3 questions. The end of the age, when the temple is going to be destroyed, and the second coming. It doesn't say nothing about the rapture. There was a rabbi in 1217, last year of his life, Rabbi Judah ben Samuel. And he prophesied that Israel would have be controlled by another empire, happened to be the Ottoman Empire, for 8 jubilees. That's 400 years. And they were 400 years, 1517 to 1917, exactly to the year. And then, but he goes on, he says, the 9th one, Israel will be a desert. Well, what do you think Israel was from 17 to, for 50 years, 67? It was a desert. But the last one, it would be a garden. They export more fruit and vegetables to Europe than anybody in the world. They look at the amount of patents that the Israelis have compared to there's no such thing as a Palestinian, but they got one called Palestinian. I can't even tell you how many, but they took a water solubilization technique that no one's been able to do and watered the garden with seawater. Simple, of such a slow drip that the salt sits on top of the sand. All they got to do is go by and pick up strips of salt off of it, and their crops are watered. Genius. That's the kind of stuff that comes from the Lord, like Dr. Richard Eby, who was commissioned by President Hoover to find some kind of a material that they could push massive amounts of electricity through with the new Hoover Dam. And the Lord gave him a dream, and he said, look at the pots that Jesus turned the water into wine, because the chemical reaction was so powerful they should have exploded. And when he went back 2,000 years and he found that clay mixture, that's what they use for transformers today. The Lord is so good. Well, I also believe that there's a dual fulfillment of prophecy, like with Jesus coming the first time, and he's coming the second time as a king, first time as a lamb. I believe that Daniel prophesied twice. The first coming was when he rode into Jerusalem on Nisan 10, and the second one was made by Mr. Suleiman of the Ottoman Empire before it ended. He gave a decree to go rebuild Jerusalem at the Lion's Gate. In 1967, Moshe Dayan storms the Temple Mount. Where does he enter? The Lion's Gate. So, and then of course at that point, I'm trying to find the extra 7 years. 7 times 7 is 49. Well, it just so happens to the day it came out to September 23rd, 2015, the day that the beast met the false prophet on the White House on 9/23. And if you go back and look at videos, I'm telling you, 40, 50, 60, I mean, the Star of Bethlehem, it just didn't stop all the stuff pointing to that date, but it was a sign, not the event. And then if you go by the Gentile calendar, 2 years later, it's 1917. And so he's coming for a Gentile bride. Why wouldn't he use a Gentile calendar? And this is the real Jubilee from the Revelation. And he puts it with signs. He says in Genesis 1:14, I put the moon and the stars and the lights in the sky for signs, for Moab, which mean the feast. Not to go out and have dinner, his feast, that he celebrates an appointed time. And that's where we're at right now. This is the appointed time. And just real quick, I'm closing. I want to give you a couple personal confirmations here about some other 17s. Of course, I already told you about all the birthdays, but my area code is 217. I think that was not by chance. I called the concrete company because they had to build a wheelchair ramp. They're afraid I'm going to break my hip, all that kind of stuff. And I need some concrete at the bottom. And I'm saying, hey, can you just, like, on the way to the job, come by and bud, we'll have the form set. And we don't do that, Chuck. And blah, blah. Sorry about your cancer. And tell you what, we throw concrete away every day. I'll come by Monday. We'll pour it for free. Here, call me. My number is 2017, 2017. I went, what? Later that night, I'm playing backgammon. I like to do it. Everything that showed up, because they give you fake money just so you can determine how good you are. Everything is like, you still got $2,017 in the bank. You spent $117. I mean, every time I turned around, it was $217, $117. It was like, Lord, really? And if it wasn't, it was 1111, which I've always believed. When people see that, the first 3 ones is for the Trinity. The fourth one is just to tell you you're the fourth part. You're okay. You're going home. Finally, I'm watching the Waltons, okay? I mean, I'm even going to go here. And I know, the Lord can use this kind of stuff. Revelation 3:10. And that verse says, because thou hast kept the words of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. That's the rapture, folks. Which shall come upon the whole world to try them upon the word. So I'm watching episode 3, season 3, episode 10, okay? And it's about a dance marathon. So John Boy's out there with his dance partner, and this really fancy person's out there. That's the only two people where it showed the numbers on their chest and back. Guess what numbers? Well, John Walton's number 17. The other people is number 67. It's like, what? Then it switches to Grandma and Grandpa, and they're talking about how hard it is to give one up because Olivia had to give John Boy up. Remember when our first son in 1917 went to the war, and a year later, 1918, John went, and I'm going, Lord, are you going to stop? But he doesn't, because that's who he is. He's the Almighty, and he's in control of everything, even the hairs on your head, much less the numbers you see. So, real quick personal prophecy to, and I'm closing. It says that during the tribulation there'll be pestilence and famines, and if you look up the original word for famine, no food. I've been in the hospital the other day, and I'm listening to them talk, and they're talking about, oh, this rate, because we're hitting the outbands of Tropical Storm Gordon right now. I meant to look up what that meant for you. Sorry, look it up yourself. I'm not being mean. I'm just saying I didn't do it. Sorry. But we're getting like 6 inches of rain, and they were talking about how they're not going to be able to get the crops out of the field. And we're having record crops, like 80 bushels of beans per acre, unheard of. And this thing's sweeping across America, not just Illinois, but, you know, the whole bread basket. Is the Lord preparing for the tribulation? Is he going to wipe out the food? Well, there'll be some food if you take the mark. Touch not the oil and wine. But we know better than that, don't we, folks? It's an unforgivable sin. There's 3 of them. Blasphemy of the Holy Ghost, taking the mark, and unforgiveness. Please forgive somebody that you have aught against. Matter of fact, I can't close unless I tell you this. When my ex-wife of 30 years, who I thought was perfect, and probably was till she got into drugs, left me with my best friend of 30 years, I knew in my head I had to forgive her, but I couldn't get my heart to line up with it. And I knew that was a mistake. And you know what the Lord told me? Pray for her out loud. Well, the first time I tried to even get her name to roll off my lips, I could barely speak it. But I did what he's told me. I prayed every day. And you know what? In like 4 to 6 weeks, I can't tell you when, his love for her, as it flowed through me in prayer, forgiveness was automatic, a supernatural. So if you have somebody in your life that you can't forgive because that's a no-no, pray for them now. You still have time. I'm here to prepare the people. I'm not here to give you a get-rich-quick sermon. I could do it. How to get healed, how to live the best Christian life ever. I'm here for my mission to prepare the people for the coming of the Lord. It's always been my mission. It's my